Hello, all my Agile and Scrum leaders. If you want to not only thrive, but survive in the next 18 months, we're going to have to do something differently. Let me talk to you about where we can add value outside of tech, starting now. That's this week on the Badass Agile podcast. Greetings, team. Welcome to the Badass Agile podcast. I'm your host, Chris Williams. Hello, friends. Great to see you. Thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for subscribing. I like to say, especially in the forward, that circulation is fundamental to life. That means we have to keep moving. We can't stand still and sit inside our four walls and expect our practices to thrive, much less grow. So let's address that this week, but first let's take a moment to remember why we're here. To create an elite tribe of leaders who truly serve their clients and communities by doing what matters and what works, relentlessly chasing value and excellence like a badass. There's so many resources out there about what you need to do to be agile, but we focus on who you need to become in order to lead teams. So let's hammer down those fundamentals to create a truly unique and powerful force in this industry. If this episode helps you, share it with your friends. Come see me on TikTok, on Instagram, on the Facebook Badass Agile Listener Lounge. Come check me out in Clubhouse. And I encourage you to engage with me, ask questions, give comments, give feedback. I love seeing you guys out there. Okay, let's talk about this. For a couple of decades now, we've been walled in with all our beautiful agile thinking and agile practices and all the wonderful things we do. We've been containing our scope to the four walls of technology. So if we're not developing a software feature, leading a software team, we basically shut off our ability and our instinct to add value with our agile skills. And fundamentally, we don't know how to talk to the business properly. And this is a problem that we need to fix. In my experience, if you ask most CEOs or owners or presidents what agile is, they're not exactly sure. They know generally what agility means from a Webster's dictionary perspective, but they're not exactly sure how it is helping them or could be helping them within their organization. At best, they know it's something they should be doing, and they know it's something that they should be buying. And we're content to sell it to them in the form of a software development methodology, effectively, as a way of getting software built, hopefully better or faster or with higher quality or higher performing teams than we had in the past. What they can't see is the philosophy of agility commands that we be adding value to our customer. And the way it's written is highly defined by software development. But if you look carefully, if you take a moment to think about it, it doesn't have to have anything to do with software or technology at all. Agility can just as easily be applied to any valuable outcome that an organization might desire. So it's our job to spread and communicate the world that Agile can help people deliver outcomes simply by prioritizing better, by doing less wasteful things, by doing the most important things first, by breaking value into small pieces so that we approach the 80-20 rule, and also, not written anywhere in the manifesto, by creating fun, challenging, and fulfilling environments that teams really enjoy working in. So basically, we're making outcomes easier, we're bringing them to market quicker, and we're making work fun again. So if not in software development, if you're really looking to expand, and keep in mind, this goes straight to the heart of your career, competition in the Scrum Master and Coach space is increasing. And remember what happens anytime supply exceeds demand. You're going to start seeing a decrease in the average billable rate. So how much you can charge, you're going to start seeing a decrease in the number of jobs that are available to you, even if you are a senior, especially if you're 10 years plus senior in the field. We're going to hit a point where people won't want to pay top dollar for something at the executive level they're not even sure what they're paying for or why. And furthermore, quality is going to be diluted. If we have an inverted supply and demand picture, companies will eventually start chasing the cheapest rate, particularly companies who don't inherently value Agile or Scrum talent. And when that happens, it's going to affect our reputation because it's going to affect our ability to deliver great quality outcomes for our customers. So here's what you need to do. You need to focus in the next 18 months on the outcomes that are valuable to an organization and figure out how you can apply your Agile Scrum talent to those areas of high value. What's high value to organizations right now? The past 2 or 3 years, we've seen a massive change in one important factor, and that is how people work. So if you want to make waves and add value and become more valuable, start thinking about how you can solve some of the problems that have come up because of the changes in the way we work. Number one, I think everyone understands this one, is remote working. If you can figure out, create a set of best practices, and set your targets on how to optimize work when people are not physically in the same room, then you can help organizations solve a problem. Right now, they're laser focused on trying to bring people back to the office when bringing people back to the office may not be the right move. Companies are simply wishing that we could go back to the way things were before, and I don't think that they can actually go back. What about you? We need to understand, and as Scrum Masters and coaches, we need to help companies experiment with new modes of working. I think this is already in flight, and I think it happened by necessity when the pandemic hit and people were forced to work from home. Everyone closed their doors and sent their people home with webcams and standing desks. So we've been talking about this problem for now, but we shouldn't still be struggling with it, and we need to change the perception that remote working is bad or it creates impossible conditions for our teams of any kind, not just software development teams. So that's one problem you can help non-technical teams figure out. The other problem is related, and that is the mass exodus of people in almost every industry and for every company. So a couple of things are happening all at once. Number one, people are leaving. Number two, people are not repopulating the employee space because they're choosing to go independent or work on a passion project or just do something else. So that means that when people leave, the spots are not being filled. That creates pressure on existing teams because they're short-staffed. There's a shortfall of people to work on tasks and projects. And so with the increased pressure, increased hours, decreased working conditions, more people quit. Now, how we've been responding to that creates problem number 3, which is throwing money at a problem, brings in the wrong talent, so now you've staffed up in order to fill the gap, but you brought the wrong people in, quality suffers, and again, more people quit, or at least more people are unhappy with their working conditions. And guess what kind of outcomes teams and companies are going to get when you have a bunch of understaffed, overworked, unhappy teams ready to quit at a moment's notice? Help a company solve that problem using Agile and Scrum, and you'll have a distinct competitive advantage. The next one is the economy's all over the place. Is it up? Is it down? Are we going to hit a recession? Are we going to hit a downturn? What's going to happen next? Inflation, interest rates, things are getting more expensive. Certain industries are stalling or freezing. So this creates massive uncertainty. But in my mind, Agile is tailor-made for uncertain conditions. I always say Agile and Scrum work best on projects where the outcome is not known, possibly because we've never done it before, or we've never done it before in this company with this specific team on this specific scope. So this is where Agile technically should shine. Can we help people navigate this uncertainty, especially those who are fed up with their existing jobs and thinking maybe they'd like to go somewhere else, maybe they'd like to start over, maybe they'd like to come into our space, Agile and Scrum? We should welcome those people, not push them out, not put up fences, but recognize that if we're not careful, we'll oversaturate the market, and all of the problems of decreasing prices and a heightened buyer's market will create all kinds of quality problems in our industry. So as we help people transition from wherever they were to wherever they want to go, that's something that we can do with Agility and Scrum. But we also have to make sure we're not pushing everyone through the software development turnstile, because that's not the only place where Scrum can add value. That's really not the only place that CEOs are looking to make moves to ensure their survival. And so it's up to us to make sure that we're widening the conversation as more people get into Agile and Scrum, possibly for the first time. But also, we need to help companies navigate these changes. So in addition to the way we work, the way we think about work, the things we demand from our workplaces, all of that's changing. So that creates complexity for companies, but so does the fact that customers are walking away. They're restricting their spend. They're spending on other things. Some people are valuing services and products that make their life easier, and other people are clamping down on their spending. And there's an interesting thing happening at the same time. Tried to get my car washed the other day. So I called up a place that does hand washes, and they're saying that not only can they no longer do drop-ins, but their backlog is 3 weeks long. That's fascinating because part of the problem is certain people are electing to spend more on luxury services, certain people are electing to spend less, but they're also probably short-staffed because of forces like Great Resignation. So we have companies that want to service an existing demand or an increasing demand, but they can't because their staff has left and they can't find more great people. If you can help companies navigate that problem, that's another advantage. And of course, helping companies find new and different sources of revenue has become a major concern, not just in the past 2 or 3 years, but in the past 10 years. As more companies face extinction or disruption from forces like automation, their revenue and their margins are being chipped away, and it seems to be outside of their control. So you see more great companies trying to find ways to generate new streams of revenue, create new products and services, deepen their relationships with customers to increase the average customer spend, to keep their customers longer, to keep them buying new and evolving products, to create more loyalty through subscriptions, add-on services. Most companies will struggle to come up with these new ideas, to find ways to leverage their existing people, products, and market knowledge to create even more value in the marketplace. If you can help a company do that, you will never go out of style. And none of it has to have anything to do with technology. You could be working with product people who are not technology product owners, but general product owners, people who are in charge of the products and services they bring to the marketplace, who would be looking for ways to innovate and test new products or new markets. You owe it to your customers, to your teams, and most importantly, guys, to yourself, to be able to circulate outside the technology team room. Every year when I do my annual predictions, I called this trend, and if you're not already learning how to deal with it on behalf of your customers or clients or your companies, you're behind the curve. It is time to evolve. So stick with me and I'll be bringing you more content on how to do Agile and Scrum outside the technology room as I'm out there in my practice solving these problems for my students, for my teams, for my customers, my clients, and their end customers as well. I hope this one has inspired you and given you some food for thought. Keep listening. I appreciate you guys. Remember, you can check me out at badassagile.com, on Twitter at badass_agile, on Instagram and TikTok at badassagile. And don't forget to check out my premium podcast called the Badass Agile Entrepreneur Podcast. Thank you once again. I'll look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, stay badass.